There's enough trouble with
Star, bring weights and.
Okay,
So weight food, not the rest of us, just, you know, because.
so while you're finishing those up, because we do need to keep this ball rolling, I figured this would happen. We have one vote for black and white tassets. They're a little weird.
Queeze.
Queeze.
That's a sexy queeze.
Sexy queeze.
There's other sexy pieces.
Well, those are black and white tassets.
That's what I'm
So people want to play in the leg game.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not a bouncer.
we'll play in the leg game.
What the beautiful Gorget?
Well, and breastplates and all that. No, I was here.
We're here for the whole trip.
Okay.
We came for the whole moment.
So,
I'll look at it.
queeze, knee,
Wow.
Italian, second half of the 16th century, Pisani kind of thing. Well, it's short. It's not tiny.
This is
Um,
a period that I'm really interested
They did some shorter ones, right? Is it probably for somebody shorter than me? Sure. But is it for somebody, you know, where it came all the way up to here? No.
Someone?
No, it's a comparatively short
No, I
queeze.
just came back. It went
It's a relatively small cop, very narrow side of the wing, small wing, and one lane top, one lane bottom. It moves about as much as you need this way. It's certainly not overbending, and a little overbend would be nice, but there's no provision for strapping it down to the greave. There's this little hole there. So I think what it lets them do is have a little slop in there and let it woggle on the greave a little bit. Straightens out, it bends. Ooh, I just gapped it. It bends about that far.
90 degrees.
Real ride.
It's a little more, but not much.
Yeah, 95,
Right.
100 maybe.
It bends that far. Now, Mac was making rude comments that it's really not quite far enough. But much more than that, they don't go much more than this.
They don't call leg
They
shots
don't
under
fight
the-
on their knees.
They don't fight on their knees, no. And you don't need more than that to sit down, get on your horse, walk around, anything.
You're not kneeling in that armor.
Yes.
Someone in the groin.
That's the kind of thing you get. And the knee is narrow,
Yeah.
because you're not crawling around on it.
You don't need it to
Be
fatten.
like a reptile. Yes, so it's narrow there. The goal is to end up with a nice arch, right? When it's bent, all the lames and the flow and the top flow together to form a thing. You don't get a bump, and you don't get a bend, flat across the top, flat down. Now, they're not always that way, but this is the right sort of, that's a nice, happy medium to try to aim for,
Yeah.
to give you a good look when it's bent. Now, does it need a good look? No, but it's much nicer this way.
Yes, it needs a good one.
Yes, it needs a good look. And they've got dumb little things like little notches on the inside to decorate it and make it pretty. Why? Who knows, but they did. And it was set up for a leather around the back of the knee and one strap up here and then a set of leathers at the top.
Yeah, take them over.
Is somebody trying to make a mess over there?
Yeah.
You're in front of the camera.
My legs.
Again, okay. So this was asked for from this end, and that was asked for from that end, so we'll go that way. Okay. Now,
Can you fling the mail around? When you,
can I fling the mail around while people are,
Mail fling. Oh, that's the mail. That's the mold. It's the blade.
okay. The PC starting out with the brass borders has some really very nice rings on it. So that's why it came along. Okay. This is,
Yes, sorry.
this is a knee-length tasset that would have hung off the breastplate and provided full protection all the way down the leg. You don't wear a cuisse underneath it, so it's late 16th. Yeah, they're doing that, late 16th. It's a little 80s, yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, it is 60, 80, somewhere in there, maybe 90, but it's, I shoot it at about 80. Again, we get about the same amount of movement, right? So, and again, we get this nice curve where everything just sort of lines up. It's been a while since I looked. Yeah, the way this one was set up, it has a strap across the back of the knee, and they just ignored the bottom. You know, it bends as much as it bends, and your leg bends out from underneath it. You know, it might as well just be a knee-length thing with no cop. so it'll bend very
I
well.
have absolutely no interest in
Ever
doing
another
yes.
piece below that?
No.
Or that's.
No, that's the end.
Tail end.
That's the end. If you bend a 3/4
No, these are
armor,
rivet.
there's nothing below it.
Yeah, these are
Oh,
riveted.
yeah.
This
This
shows,
is why,
this shows the way it's put together. Yes, they're riveted.
yeah, no.
Look
this-
carefully. Shows the way a tasset is put together. Sliding rivets down the outside so that you can go from straight to extending your legs out. Leathers up the center and the middle so that you can just sort of bend in all sorts of funny ways to let it compress where it needs to. This also shows an extra leather around down the outside. What's it for? Keeps things from gapping funny. Maybe keeps your clothes from getting jammed up in those edges all the time. But this is probably sort of as much lining as you got. It's just a little there to keep everything from chewing you up. This one doesn't get it, you got a leather there to keep it off. Now, the other interesting things to look at here are brass cap rivets, some of which are pulling apart, so let's be careful with them. The rosettes, which are all apparently original, there's some replacements on that one with some pewter ones. And do this one. The way that it comes apart for wearing like Garanimal's armor. So you can choose to wear a short tasset and a long cuisse, or a medium tasset. Pull it all the way apart. You get out of there. Come on. It's kind of tight. I should be able to pull it apart. Oh, maybe not. Whatever.
And are the bottoms the accessory part?
And then you can do it again and go longer and have even shorter cuisses and then play the game. All of them are actually punched with a series of punches so that you can figure out which part goes with which part. Now, they didn't do it on the inside, that would be too easy. They did it right down here on the front edge. And it's front edge, and outside on the outside of the wing. I guess it made it easier for them to find it. But you can see the little roped edge that happens, because even though it's underneath there, because you might wear it this way, you need a roped edge. And from various ones that I've seen, these seem to be a very typical buckle style for this Brunswick armor that was floating around. So these are original buckles. All of these details are original.
Yeah,
So you can see what was going on here.
And using sharp
So they're playing from there.
Hell yeah.
These guys are playing with mail too much, so we'll start over here.
So wait,
Yes.
on the mail, do you have any examples of the really fine Indian mail?
What do you mean, the 6mm modern stuff, or
No,
what?
the
Like that?
14th century Indian,
I
like
do not know that.
eighth inch.
I have
diameter
I have
stuff.
some 8-inch mail.
Okay,
I have, somebody keeps claiming it's slightly over 8 inch. It's 8 or just a little bigger.
okay,
I have a mail collar that's made that way.
okay.
And it has tiny
Yep.
rings. Here, we can start one in the middle to let people play there too.
Yay.
Okay.
Those are shooting.
That's okay.
Are those sweats are done?
Those came out of the Hanover stuff too. So they're German.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Brunswick, German area of Germany that's coming out of there. So that seems to be the kind of thing. As you can tell, the leathers are falling apart and things. I ended up with these because they're just nasty enough that Peter Finer couldn't figure out what to make a suit out of. So,
If there's something falling down.
raw
What's
shells.
the point of his knuckles though?
We know that the short won't fit in the flag. These kids aren't.
I don't think so.
Even with that shape there?
No, I don't think so. No, there are some, there are
There's a pair of
shortish cuisses that have exactly that shape on full-size armors.
There's a,
Oh, yeah, that's what mine was.
there's one full suit.
Down the hill.
And then relatively short
Stone
cuisses.
is so bad.
It's not for somebody 6 feet tall, but it's not a, 3 foot tall either. It's a full-size thing. And it might even be right. It might even be right.
It's a really old thing.
Yes. It's the right shape.
Mine's all 4.0 and they don't.
That's fine.
Mine's a good flat on the inside, right?
This,
No, that's mine. Yeah, but it's probably mine too. Yeah, I think that's mine.
so wait,
Yeah.
with the thumbs, the title come way out exaggerated. Is this fairly typical for the the reverse
Well,
curve.
when you actually wear it, it conforms to shape.
Yeah,
Well, it's, and you can,
yeah, you need about that, you don't need any more, right? You need just about that to get it to work with what you've got.
Because not only is it hinged, it's also straight.
Yeah, it's popping
Yeah,
everywhere. Yes, that should be, that's probably a marker, but that should, I think the letter should be on this side, not just the outside. But that gives you that same little, that 14th century little knuckle plate in an hourglass, it's the same thing.
I'm just thinking, yeah, single-handed sword's not gonna do much for this.
And what century is it?
The Queese is second half of the 16th century. So 60 to 80. Oh, these are 80-ish.
Okay, it's Queese too, right?
Well, it's actually a long tasset.
Long tasset?
Because it hangs off the breastplate.
Thank you.
Well, it hangs off the fall from the breastplate, but
Maybe 2 layers of fall.
Washers on the
I just
inside,
see
it's probably
square washers.
I see the hooks on the pins. Is that like, to add a section and subtract?
it comes apart into 3 pieces.
Yeah.
See, I took the other one that's behind you apart into 2. So you get an upper, yeah, let's be as nice as we can with those
Yes,
letters.
yes.
They're falling apart there.
So it goes into a suitcase like an Iron Man suit, right?
You can take it somewhat apart. For packing, I took it into 2 sections.
that day.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
That is beautiful the way that comes apart. Wow, this is sweet.
Now, usually, the other pair I have that are like this, and the one single to piece that I used to have that I got rid of, I sold it to Tolbert, Christian Tolbert. The other way they do it is with that keyhole slot on one side and just a turning pin on the other side. So you have, another keyhole and then you just turn the pin. This Schneckhook game is exceptionally weird. The pin is more normal, turning pins are more normal.
but a Schneckhook is cool.
But a Schneckhook is cool, so
And
I brought the
there's-
ones with Schneckhook.
have you been to the Royal Ontario Museum? Okay, they've got a set with the Schneckhooks,
Must have been
holding the
coated.
tassets, the breastplate, which is, so it's,
Literally. I'm thinking of like a template.
and then the Schneckhook goes through the pin.
Yep.
And it's attached to the
Oh,
gun.
sorry.
Yep, it's like that. Yep, they do that. Yeah, that one started in
A little bitty tiny.
and they got one starting there to go that way.
Going past one thing,
Oh, yes.
You can actually see the depth of travel, where it's, so it's dead on.
There are shots of it on the site too, but you can take as many as you want out there.
Trying to play. See if I can take this one. I just got
There is some big stuff, but
Just to measure the difference between open and closed, and it was, I need an inch of compression.
Just recently, it doesn't look like, that's not what King Mills.
the 6mm is better size, but look is just not right. Camera behind you, so you know.
What?
Okay.
Get out the way, dude, God.
Collar.
Mac has the theory, and he's probably right, that it's hard to sleeve. It's the taper that you would need in the sleeve to have it appropriately fit. So off of the arm and then down here, and that's sleeve edging. And he's probably right, he may be right. The edge of something like that. I mean, the voider's right there, the sleeve's right there. On the brass. On steel, it's all weird.
So you notice on the rusty grade, when you have, they don't have that.
Yes.
So once you're out of Gothic, once you're into the,
Paying attention later.
They're in the playing stage right now.
Needed a break from all the chanting.
Chanting?
Yes, they put
All hail Ugo, the armor god.
We put choir
Choir
practice next to the 4 guys class.
Mm.
And I was.
Was it
Like, I can
Gregorian?
only handle so much religion.
Well, yeah, but the poor guy needs to be able to do his class too. So the male sleeve has the shoulder built into it, the armpit, and a bent elbow. Mac and I are always ranting at the stupidity that all of the ones I've ever seen are this way. You bend them this way. They go up, not this way. Why don't you do it this way?
Oh, you were meant.
Maybe
Because
because
my grandma cut the end off the rose.
because they want to be unisex. I don't know, but it's.
I want to video of Ugo.
I think it really doesn't matter. You're really just giving it some more material to work with and swap around. But it's really. I made the one for my kid this way, and they always want to. It is wrong. I should take it apart and take it. But I know it's wrong. Yes.
Yeah, right.
There's actually a video of that moving on my website. But
I'm gonna
take
get, I'm gonna
it.
get some of this made in the shark valve. I can get the guys to put it together. Yeah, I can get them to do that. They'll well, they'll see the bits. Are we just putting it back up there?
Let's go back.
It hasn't,
These
it's
two pieces need to go that way.
go to about here and then we can take it out. Yeah.
I've seen that.
We're waiting for the black and white.
Yeah, and it's,
Right? That is how armor should work.
okay,
Yeah.
so,
And it's not straight, it's not even, it's not, a stick, it's not,
rolled.
it's all funny, in every possible way. Even though it looks like a bunch of plates that are slapping on each other. They're very careful.
So they laid it on the edge, you can see where it is. They laid it on the edge and
Push back
where
into it.
Yeah, it's a rolled out and,
And then pushing out.
well, yeah, but then notched right there. They don't bother to try to do it the hard way. Doing a roll into a point is a pain.
Yeah, but
Take.
but then the A254, if you look at chisel marks in the A254, there are these lovely little groups of 3. Bang, 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 bang. You get here, bang, bang, down. But visually, you're going,
Yeah.
and I had to like zoom in a photo and go, how did they do that? Because it's got to be continued in there.
They did the
You
easy
guys
way.
Turns around.
Sometimes they really did do it the easy way.
Always, they did it the easy way.
Well,
They thought it was the easy way.
What did we mean?
So question for you.
yes.
When you're bringing them up to a point,
So you, there's a gap.
It's kind of like.
They notched it. They just folded it. Oh, okay.
hello, baby, hello, madonna.
Oh.
So the question I have is,
Well, the main trick is to try to avoid peeling too much of my washer, or too much of my rivet. So you can slide that to there, and
No, this is, it's for something else.
then back to
Yeah,
that.
he was trying to pick that.
There we go.
No.
Okay.
I didn't
Now you
bring
have to
that
lay this
on.
back together.
so the question I have is,
Yes.
The A254.
yeah, certainly when you're bringing up that cusp on the back end of the Gothic gauntlet, you're rolling,
Yeah.
and whether you notch or not.
Slightly different.
They always notched it.
These flutes.
I didn't. It's a real pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, I know.
But
Is what I ended up starting to do on the
It's almost like a
back of my
scroll line.
gauntlets is, instead of bringing it up to that really nice clean point,
Is
is I just gave it a little bit of a roll so I could roll the edge
different quality.
through it,
Yeah.
because I found that was for SCA gauntlets where they're just taking subjective
I think I'm
repeated
seeing
abuse.
when we're talking about.
If you bring it to that point, it ends up creating
The whole
a
edge is like that.
stress fracture along there.
Well,
if
it's
you're trying to raise it up.
there's
yeah, I don't know that I've had. We did some pointed
And then it's
Italian
got
ones,
firework
which have the roll going all the way around and
They're
no
gorgeous.
break there.
Like they're
And-
braided and they've been,
Yeah, they
But
didn't.
you can
They
see
didn't ever crack.
like the lines.
But yes,
here.
if you notch it, you're probably creating a stress point. But
Yeah, that's why.
They didn't
Oh, there are things.
Well, and that's what I was kind of curious, I mean, obviously different usage patterns,
Yes.
different different priorities.
Yes.
So that's why I just, my answer would be to try and do, just to try and get the point for the look, but then give it just enough that it's easy to roll, so that I'm avoiding actually bringing it up.
You can cheat if you want to, right?
I don't care, I just.
But they seem to have always
Turn it on. It's
A lot easier.
a lot easier, yes.
Can, but I don't know.
I kept seeing the green light pop up.
Use a little like the,
Look at this.
that's not hard to do, it's not hard to do, but.
Wait.
Yes.
I don't mean it.
Keep telling, right?
Oh, This is like chocolate.
One in there this
Could be that,
I hate to say that, but that's almost a standard SC&E cop. On the outside, very outside,
That's what it like.
right, the shape of a cop is, that one's comparatively actually dished out here. But it still does a nice curve up into it. Yes, the other one is very different. It's more pointy rather than the arched out. But
This is a dangling and illusion.
it's a dangling over something, right? It's sort of beefy and everything, but even then, they made it move that much, even though they're not bothering to attach it to anything on the bottom, so it probably won't. Unless you pull it real tight, and it just sort of tends to pull you into it.
Breastplate more.
I actually own one of these that's similar. It's a slightly later 17th century one, and the knee strap they ran from the bottom plate on one side to the center of the knee on the other side. I forget which way. I think it went from the bottom plate here to the center of the knee there. So they actually get one strap, sort of doing a little pull and holding the knee in at the same time. Now, I don't have the strap anymore, but I can see from the gaps in the wrist and the space that they actually did that in that case. So it's a peculiar thing, but they did at least once.
Would it be incorrect taking gestures when they took the knee off when they weren't riding? If you were just walking and wearing it? You wouldn't
Probably
walk
if you're on
that
foot, you would
far.
have the knee there and maybe take it off for a ride. I don't know. I do not know in what particular case they used what.
Why they would use.
Yes. Usually it is postulated that you take the knee off when you're gonna then wear it over a cleat.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So you know, there's some very short cleases and then those long tassets that come down to them. If you took the knee off, you would have one of those. So maybe you take it off so you can do that, and then wear greaves with the appropriate creases. Well, so you want a full one.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And this, something like this might be with boots,
Yeah.
3/4 harness.
Yeah. So you can stand around with your marshal's baton and look like you all need armor. Yeah.
Have you seen the, Michael Wicks the Younger? I mean, if you're not wearing some dark clothes from Austria. It's in
If you're fighting in sweat.
have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're shit. As you get a knee,
That has a
I would be worried about them getting.
I mean, they're.
It's so dark, I'm gonna have to look at
Flesh
it.
is malleable enough, I think.
No, it's so
I mean,
dark, I
certainly
can't
if you
get
get caught between
focus on the
this
dark.
washer and this rivet, that's.
It just seems to me the question is what did the leg?
Yeah, it's just on the inside.
What did the what?
The legs.
No, he's commenting on the, these legs coming in so far.
I mean, I've been chewed up by legs that look like.
Yeah, they didn't care. They got crappy lames all over the place. They stick the points out. You've got to make sure that the lames are long enough so that they go up under the wing, and you never get that, to be rude, completely dorky, SCA, I can see your air, you know, in there.
Yeah.
The wing has got to cover up. Now, either it's by lames sticking out or the wing being a little kicked back or whatever. That's an aesthetic they just never, they never went to the other side of that. They would go, why go past that? They had some metal, they didn't bother to trim it off. He trimmed off the other side to make it look pretty, he didn't trim that side off, who cares?
Which means they didn't get caught there a lot.
Which
Sorry,
means,
what's the?
why there's
These
these lanes, when you have a cop, the end of the lane, the wing, and you can see the end of the lane. And maybe even a hole in between them. It's not terribly common, but it happens way more than it ever did in the real world. Because it never happened in the real world, best I can tell. So, Okay, so those are floating around, that one's sort of halfway around. The black and white has gone sort of all the way.
This came from that side.
The mail
I
is,
feel that way.
This does?
well, it's getting tossed around. I threw the mail out. Whoever wants to play with mail, you know, and you can have some mail.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank you. See,
I wanted to
No.
make man.
oh, that's
So there are bits and pieces of mail.
Now, see the, what do you call it?
Yeah.
The what, that thing?
No,
Look at
this.
Look at the rig.
This?
You want a photo of this?
Okay.
The one that stalled out.
If the sleeves
Available, I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Black and white.
Okay. Now, what do we want to move on to? Yeah, well, yeah, that's funny.
Breastplate?
We have breastplates. Why don't we play breastplates so we can get some big stuff out of the way?
Yeah.
Get some of the jousters have.
Okay. Now, I bought this because, well, it's probably as close as I can get to a 15th century breastplate. There are actually two Gothics that showed up in a recent sale, and I can't tell my wife, I was next to highest bidder on one of them at 6,000 pounds. Pounds. Multiply by 2 because
2 1/4.
it's,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I went to $11,000 in 1992 on one as well and didn't get it. But anyway, okay, so 2-piece breastplate. It is of the cheesiest, most exporty, munition-y, stupid-y variety. There are some like it in Karczewski's and Richardson's book on roads. There's some very similar ones. The central rivet, the big one, the big nuggy one here, is the only one that should be there. Some idiot threw the other ones in just to annoy me. I don't think it serves any other purpose in the world, but that's what is there. This central one in this style is often a bolt. It does not slide up and down, usually. Sometimes there are exceptions, the Kerberg ones do. But when you're getting to this kind of thing, it's a central bolt. A lot of the German ones, the 2-piece German ones at least, I'm taking the 3-piece ones apart, are bolts, not slots. And sometimes there are multiple bolt holes, sometimes there's a single one.
So sizing.
So it seems to be a sizing thing. There's often no way to secure the sides at all. They just sort of flop around when it's that way. This one would have had no way to secure the sides either. The rolls go out. The rolls are cheesy, normal little, anybody can do them rolls. The upper one does taper and does have a little more shape. The arm ones are pretty boring. The edges, even at this level, the edges are cusped on this plate. It would have had a short fold hanging off of it. The inside shows how the overlap works. This is how the Italian overlap works. Germans can be funny with the multiple things. Yeah, actually, the two that came up for sale were both German. And one of them was cut this way and one of them was cut up. So they seem to have had more variety. But the Italian ones, you look at all the big Italian ones in Kerberg, the Avant Armor, even the cheaper ones, they're not trying to make their life easier by cutting it up and you got less dishing to do. Well, they're a little, but not much.
It's less material, really.
But they're basically building a whole breastplate and tacking one on the front. In this particular case, I took a gauge to it. The upper part, and I've forgotten the numbers, but the upper part is thick in the middle and tapers out at the sides, like it should. The bottom one is basically 18 gauge all the way over. So it's pretty much sort of a big waist blade that's giving them some slop, and the protection's coming from the upper. I don't think that's the typical way it's done. The Avant Armor is 4mm in both the top and the bottom. So you got 8mm of steel between you and the guy trying to kill you.
Yeah, I'm always amazed at how much overlap there is on the breastplates.
It's a huge amount of overlap.
Because in some of the German ones, you've got 3 layers of steel in some places. Like, right through this area, you often have bands where you've got 3 layers.
What time frame will that
This is somewhere 1480, 90 to maybe even up to 1510. There seems that it really feels like the change from the 15th to the 16th century is about 1510, not 1500, right? I mean, the world was starting to change, but things bleed over. Henry VIII's silvered and engraved armor is really a 15th century Milanese armor from 1511. So, you know, but it's pretty. But the line isn't 1500. You get Maximilian before it. It's a little later than that.
Do you think the breastplate overlap effect is something showing an influence of the protecting his firearms, maybe? You know,
Who knows?
But in the 15th century, you had a lot of medals.
Yeah, less. I mean, they were there.
They were there, but
Yeah,
I mean, that's what did in Jack behind.
I think
Well,
now
Canada.
10 pounds.
Go to the guy behind you.
wow, that's
Okay,
impressive.
now, so that has some real weight. I don't remember how thick it is. It's 12 gauge or better at least in the middle. I can look it up. It's on the, actually, why don't I find out the thickness? The center of the breastplate varies between 115 and 150.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
.150. That's a munition piece.
yeah, I was gonna say.
And it gets up to 150 in the middle.
That's where the leather was at.
And I can't tell what the real middle is because I haven't disassembled it, so I can only get a gauge to up in there. But yeah, it's up to 150. This is a turn of the century. You know, we're moving from the 15th to the 16th century. This is the same shape as the silvered and engraved armor. There are there's several Bashford Dean former things that are in the Met and in Philly and Harding and various places that have these Flemish style, Spanish, whichever, they were sort of the same group of people. One piece, central crease breastplates. You're getting a little bit of droop at the waist, a little bit of elegant sort of that, you know, that German Gothic line where it's sort of dropping down in the front and coming up at the back. So you've got that same line, but on a central creased thing. It's very creased. It's coming to just a simple lines that are intersecting in the middle to give you that crease. These rolls are outward turned, so they're pre-15, 10-ish, and they're huge.
Yeah.
They're enormous. And if you look like up at the top, all the damage up here is later. You know, they've been bent and it's been mangled on the side and things like
Can you
that.
hold that up so that it's,
It's too small for me.
It's awful.
yeah. But
The main reason is because the side is bent in, so I can't, you know.
Was it fitted for your belly button or for your belt?
It would go a little, well, my belt's higher than yours,
Well,
but
a normal person, the person it fitted for.
it's gonna go a little below. It's not gonna be belly button, but it's not gonna be a lot. It's, the sideline is gonna be where you expect a 14th century breastplate to go
Okay.
to. So you're getting that much droop. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit. It's not like a piece cut that's going way down.
So that does have these
Something between it
exaggerated opening up here.
Yes. Yes, so you're, yes. Oh, he was trying to figure out how the arm opening works. Yes, it's gonna sit up off your body here to let you move. Right.
Can you move your arm forwards? Excellent, yeah.
You touch my other shoulder.
That's good.
Huge rolls, massive rolls. If you look up at the top of this roll, you see they filed a few lines into it for some unknown reason, for some decoration. But you can also see what appear to be really original divots, where they didn't quite get the roll right, and they filed right over it and shipped it.
Makes my rolls period. See, that's great. Period.
For our next couple of lifts,
Got a big dent. Oh, well, we call that a
It
period.
looks kind of.
So those are huge. Those are big rolls. I think the tallest one is 78
Looks like a breastplate, I mean,
And so there's a lot of material in there.
So is that rolled
Out.
completely over?
Yeah.
Would they have filled it?
Well, it is now hollow.
Okay.
Another layer of.
I've done them hollow. I've done them almost that big hollow, out of 1050. And we did them hollow without anything in them. Would it maybe be easier to have something in them? Probably. Who knows?
Well, and you need something in them if you're gonna do requisite.
If you're gonna do funny things, you would need some. There's a funny detail, if you look at the inside where the rolls are, it's actually sort of pushed up into the roll. Honestly, I do not know why. I cannot explain it for sure, but it feels to me like it lines up with the places where it looks like it was collapsing and they were trying to save their souls. And so it feels like they knocked it out so they get themselves something to bash against, just a little bit to catch that edge. And if you're making one of these triangular rolls and so one part is collapsing in, if you hammer somewhere else, it'll pop that out. So you can start juggling back and forth and maybe pure wild guess, I could be completely wrong here, note for user. there's just a little there to try to catch that and hold it while you're trying to fix everything. Maybe. I don't know. I've seen it like that on some of the others, and it seems to be sort of randomly positioned, as if it were just an artifact of how they were hammering it, or a catch kind of thing. But it's not always there, and it's not always, you know, right here. It's sort of randomly wherever it ends up.
That proves they weren't perfect at making armor.
Oh, they weren't perfect at all.
And considering how rough they are.
And they figured
I
out
don't
how to
remember.
They just figured.
But you have
I have it.
Experience.
Yeah, I have it.
no production endeavor. Yeah.
But that was like.
.03 to 05, mostly 035 to 40. There are some 20 spots.
You know, you're charging 10 times as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the
Right
range.
from experience. What I would think they've done here.
But it's just so high percentage.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Right where they wanted it, and it's so broad, there's a little bit of gap,
Screw up.
and they're bringing it up from behind.
Yeah, but the outer,
To get the outer.
the outer is smooth and even. You can't,
I've
you
got a
know.
lot of simple patterns designed off the base.
Well, that would probably be around a lot.
Make it quick, make it.
But you see what I'm saying,
Yeah,
it's a
no.
possibility.
It's possible. That one, the central creased guy varies from about 1/8 inch in the middle, down a band about 2 inches wide, and then tapers off 0.90, and then so there's some spots there like 0.30 and 0.50 on the edges. So it has the weight it has, even though it has an 1/8 inch center. And if you look at it, it's got a crease on the outside and sort of a round on the inside. So it was even thicker, and you sort of ground it to even.
No.
Are these original?
We can fix
Yeah,
Those are
Maybe
original.
3 pounds.
probably. I don't know, but I mean, it seems odd. Usually you'd think that would be for a hinge.
Well,
But
but
usually the
think
hinge is over
cast
there.
iron,
Yeah, but if,
you've got the,
That's later. That
I
would
mean,
be
it's not, but if you know, if it were frying pan.
Could be, but a lot of, yes, exactly, and that would be backwards.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them, they don't wrap all the way around.
Yeah.
So you get a 2/3 or something. I don't know for sure.
Okay, that would have been really weird.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that would be really weird. Yes, completely. It should be on the other side. So, oh, whatever. Maybe they swapped cuffs off of the other guy and inserted the other cuff. You know, cuffs from one hand and then gauntlets from the other. Who knows? Okay. So while you're playing with those, I can take that away.
Are those original buckles?
Yes.
A lot of curvature.
Yes, I've been finding several of the Hanover pieces that come out with buckles like that. And I've actually got another pair of tassets like that that have identical to these buckles. So it's like they were manufactured.
Yeah.
So here, out of Philadelphia, has a lot of records in that period of
the
buckle manufacturers selling them to.
Really?
Yes, so they were buying.
Well, so armors didn't have to make their own buckles?
Not always, no.
Wow.
Yeah, how weird.
What, armor's making
I hope you're judging next time I answer something. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone who makes hinges on your box so it can stop making the damn things?
I'm gonna actually
Far enough.
fire specialist, learning how to make
Weavers
Okay.
aren't spinners.
I'll give you some sheets.
Okay.
Where we go.
This is about, yeah, that one's going that way and that one's going that way.
What is the red on the inside of this?
Paint.
Is it just
There's a,
petroleum or?
is it Marzoli? One of those, has a lot of red on the inside of things that they used to own. Yeah, it's just somebody trying to stabilize it a little bit. It's modern paint. This is 1540, 1550, somewhere in that range. It's a German, nice center pointed breastplate. This is about as pointy as they get, and it's about as straight as they get. Usually there's more sweep to things, more curve out
It
of
has
things.
compression gussets.
It has gussets. This one is made, you can see, we were jabbering last night at Patrick's house with Mac. There's sort of thick armor and thin armor. Thick armor, they're beating the shit out of it from the inside, and then they just forget about it. There are serious hammer marks here, and serious parts that are just, I mean, there's a part right there that just bubbles up with material. It's thick. This one gets roughly 1/4 inch in the middle, and it tapers down to, you know, 0.50-ish or down the edges. There's a lot of meat to this one.
Serious glancing surface.
And you don't need to glance because I put steel in the way, thank you very much. We have sliding gussets, Gussets pretty much always have this cut away the material so you don't have too much overlap, so to point at the articulations and point at the slider. It's varying, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. The rolls go in, we're after 1510-ish, so they go in, they're heavily roped. You can actually look up inside and see that it is 3D a little bit. There's some repoussing going on to get it. There's something else that was an entertaining feature. It used to have a lance rest, so they filled the holes. It also has a massive crack in here where it's delaminating and somebody's trying to rivet it back together to hold it together. That's probably original working life. Oh damn, it blew out, sell it anyway. But it was good enough that there's...
Is that a delamination along the wrought iron?
Yeah, along the layers of the material.
So it's like a silicate inclusion?
Yeah. Yeah, a big honking one too. There's also an etched crucifix and night kneeling in front of the crucifix that's mostly worn away, so you have to look real carefully to try to get to it. But it's there, it's over on this side.
Big difference compared to the other.
Is the curator over polishing?
Well, over the years, various people over polishing it, yes. So you get a very different shape here, right? And it's supposed to be low, there'd be a big gorget covering the rest of it. Well, something, yeah, but a bigger collar that goes with it. So then that would cover it. The buckles would be secured to the top of the gussets, which is what holds them out. These are your shoulder straps. And so that's what keeps it, its outward pressure. The weight of the breastplate pulling down holds it open. So that's how that one works.
First time I made a black and white, I had never seen the inside. I didn't even know that those pieces were supposed to be.
They don't always. They don't always. There are a bunch of, several of the Italian ones I've seen that have relatively narrow bands there. They're just solid. There's no provision for movement at all. And why?
That's beautiful.
I don't know, but that's just the way it was. So there is some variety there.
That's that Brunswick?
Wait. Yes. That one's going all the way around? Cool. Okay. Oh, that one's a lot heavier. That one on that end will beat the pants off the head. The 1540 one. Yes. Okay. So the breastplate will wander its way around, and that one will wander its way around, so people can keep that going. Where the cuisse will finish itself off. Where to next?
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous, you win. Okay.
That's what I feel like putting on. The one size fit all.
The basic message coming out of the Gorgets is German style, Italian style. There's some crossover, and it's not so specific, but let's go with, this is a not too high quality, medium quality, very typical Italian gorget that gives you the single lame up here. It's currently attached with rivets. That's not the way it would have been done. These massive rivets are maybe 19th century. They're certainly no older than that. They're wrong, they're too big, they shouldn't be there. They would have been attached by these leather spots, so you'd have some cushion in it. But they are it's a very angular look, right? It steps up to the thing. One of the things that we've got to do to get it right is it's a straight line. The top is always a straight line, and it angles like this. So you put it on, I mean, I don't care, you can put it on. So I remember this one actually fits pretty well. So, yeah, it fits very well actually. So it sits at that kind of angle, because your neck is sloping in, right? Your neck is sloping in at the back. And
so that sucks all the way across the shoulders. It keeps, it doesn't dip in.
yeah, I mean, the top is straight.
Yeah.
The top edge of the next plates down is basically straight. The goal is to get this sort of straight line.
Turned sideways?
Well,
He's giving them their side.
He is turned sideways for me.
So that's the idea. That's what you're aiming for. This one, at least for me, and there are several other people here will have a similar build, actually fits very nicely. It sits sort of around the edges, it's not riding up on the muscles up in here, and it gives me some room to swap around in there. So that's the idea.
So is that gonna be over an Italian leather strapped breast and back?
Under.
What period?
Under. The Gorget goes under.
Okay.
Period. That's why you have to make it first.
Yep.
It's really stupid. If you're starting somebody's armor, you gotta build the Gorget first or you're screwed. You'll never get it to work after that.
Gorget and Greaves.
Well, yeah, you get a disconnect about here, so you can do anything you want in between, but you've gotta start here and work out. So really you should be here, then the cuirass, then the pauldrons. You can already get the arm
What
sealed.
about the German breast and backs that had the integral gorget?
Yeah, those are fun, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, those are really neat. Yeah, you gotta do it all at once and make the damn thing work.
Yep.
Like the waistcoat breastplate I made for my kid this year.
Well, it's you need 2 people.
I did it
know
with
what they're
one. I did it with one for that, but yeah, it's a thrill.
But we're not gods.
Yeah, well, I had a lot. I assembled and disassembled that thing.
Yeah.
Must have been 50 times at least. It was a real nightmare. Anyway, okay. So we've got the straight line. We've got a roll at the top, hinge on one side, pin that engages on the other side. Very straightforward, simple. The roll around the edge is not a roll around the edge. It's just a bump.
Yeah.
There's almost never really a roll on the edge of a Gorget. There are a few that are late that were designed to wear without armor, other armor, that might have a roll, but almost always, there's always an exception, of course. This edge is not a roll, it's just a bump.
That it doesn't show though, right? It's underneath the breastplate.
Yeah, but they still put that there. You know, it's got a recessed border and a rope thing.
And the rivets are old or new?
Yep.
Oldish at least. They're not anything like as new as these things. So there could have been a lining in this one. There could have been a lining in this one.
Or
That would make sense.
bring it in and then.
Now,
That's
on the other hand,
Well, think about what's gonna be rusted in there.
this is the German one. I think,
This line.
and we're gonna go into my theory for a while and then you can say anything